Good evening. It's Monday, the 29th of September, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Crowd safety. Massive crowd surge at Tamil Nadu political rally kills dozens, leaves dozens more injured. Urban conflict. Intense overnight Russian missile and drone assault on Kyiv kills civilians, including a 12-year-old girl. Education innovation. Third grade teacher Mary Crippen at Pincrest Elementary inspires students with football-themed lessons across all subjects.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
Good evening once again. A tragic stampede at a political rally in Karur, Tamil Nadu claimed at least 39 lives and injured over 50 others. The incident occurred during a campaign event for actor-turned-politician Vijay's party, Tamilinga Vetri Kazhagam. Authorities have launched an investigation and compensation has been announced for the victims' families.
A sea of people stretching as far as the eye can see. Tens of thousands packed into India's southern Karur district for a campaign rally for actor-turned-politician Vijay. What began as a show of unity quickly turned to tragedy. The crush began when crowds surged towards Vijay's bus. Some fell, sparking the deadly stampede. Those injured now in a stable condition.
My brother's two children were there. The eldest one passed away. The younger one is missing. My sister-in-law is in the ICU. What should I do? A child has lost his eye.
Textile market.
Vijay is one of Tamil cinema's most adored actors. He has drawn massive crowds since launching his political party last year, challenging both the state ruling party and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's own party, ahead of elections in early 2026. The Prime Minister has called the tragedy deeply saddening.
My thoughts are with the families who have lost their loved ones, wishing strength to them in this difficult time.
District officials have ordered an investigation and promised a compensation of 1 million rupees for the victims' families.
In Guizhou today, China's newly opened Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge, rising 625 meters above the Beipang River, was unveiled to the traffic, cutting a 2-hour canyon journey to about 2 minutes and claiming the title of the world's highest bridge in a 3-year engineering project. Officials say it will boost connectivity.
The Huajiang Grand Canyon Bridge is a 2,890-meter suspension structure with a 1,420-meter main span and a deck of 625 meters above the river, achieved with twin towers and a large steel truss girder design. Construction began in 2022 and the project underwent multi-stage load testing before opening. Built in Guizhou province to link previously isolated districts, the bridge is reported to cut a previous 2-hour journey across the gorge to roughly 2 minutes, promising faster commerce, commute times and tourism growth for the region. Provincial authorities and state media promoted the road link benefits. At 625 meters of deck-to-river clearance, Huajiang surpasses the former record holder, the Beipanjing Dude Bridge, to become the world's highest bridge by deck height. Official listings and engineering databases record the updated ranking. State reports note extensive load tests before opening, but analysts and some new outlets warn about environmental effects, large infrastructure costs, and the sustainability of mega projects in less developed inland provinces. Local economic benefits are likely but debated.
A fire at South Korea's National Information Resources Service data center in Daejeon, blamed on a suspected lithium-ion battery explosion, crippled hundreds of government systems. Reports say 647 were affected, disrupting mobile, ID, postal, tax and other public services. Officials are restoring platforms while investigators probe the cause today.
Some key online government services are currently unavailable or facing massive delays following a fire at the National Information Resources Service in Daejeon. The fire started when a lithium-ion battery exploded in a server room in the building. The incident has caused a nationwide paralysis of 647 government administrative and civil services. Of these, 96 were severely damaged. The government announced that it has restored 47 services, including mobile ID services, the healthcare big data system, the gov.kr government portal for civil application services, and the banking services provided by Korea Post. Meanwhile, applications for the second round of government-issued consumption coupons are also still available, but the government civil complaint website remains suspended. People can visit local community service centers instead. The government said it is preparing to relocate the 96 damaged systems to the agency's branch in the southeastern city of Daegu, a process expected to take around 2 weeks. With the Chuseok holiday approaching, there is a high likelihood of delays at public institutions as administrative tasks are expected to surge.
Typhoon Woloi struck Vietnam's northern central coast earlier today, leaving at least 8 dead and 17 missing. The storm brought 8-meter waves, flooding and power outages, damaging 245 homes and inundating 1,400 hectares of crops. Over 28,500 people were evacuated ahead of the typhoon's landfall.
Typhoon Woloi made landfall in Vietnam's northern central provinces, including Quang Tri, Nghệ An, Ninh Bình, Hue and Thanh Hoa. The storm's powerful winds and heavy rains led to the deaths of 8 individuals and left 17 others missing, primarily due to flooding and fallen debris. The typhoon caused significant damage to infrastructure, with 245 homes destroyed and approximately 1,400 hectares of rice and other crops flooded. Power outages were widespread, affecting several regions. Transportation was disrupted and 4 airports in central provinces were closed, grounding or delaying hundreds of flights. In preparation for the storm, Vietnamese authorities evacuated over 28,500 residents from vulnerable areas. Emergency response teams were mobilized to assist affected communities. The government has also initiated a dedicated investigation into the cause of the fire at the National Information Resources Service data center in Da Hyun, which has disrupted key government services. Typhoon Woloi follows its impact in the Philippines, where at least 10 people died after the storm hit last week. Vietnam's long coastline along the South China Sea makes it particularly vulnerable to such natural disasters. Authorities have warned of potential severe flooding and landslides, with rains expected to total up to 500 millimeters in some areas throughout tomorrow.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. And welcome back. Overnight, Russia launched a massive drone and missile assault on Kyiv, resulting in at least 4 fatalities, including a 12-year-old girl, and injuring approximately 80 others. The attack targeted residential areas, a hospital, and energy infrastructure. Ukraine's air defenses intercepted the majority of incoming projectiles.
Firefighters continue to search through the rubble. Kyiv was once again hit by a massive Russian attack. Around 100 missiles and drones struck the city, leaving several dead and many more injured. In this suburban neighborhood, residents were caught asleep when the strikes hit.
I went down to the shelter around 2 a.m. as soon as the siren began. I could have gone earlier.
We heard the sound of projectiles coming towards us, so we went to the shelter. There have been several attacks here over the past few months.
In central Kyiv, many Ukrainians took shelter in the train station, spending much of the night underground. This hospital was also struck. Mayor Klitschko visited the site.
We everybody hope of a diplomatic solution to stop this war, but we see result of discussion. From one side, the Russian Federation talk about just military object is the target for his attack, but we see how many people died.
Kyiv was not the only city to come under Russian attack. In Zaporizhia, a major industrial city in the south, infrastructure and commercial buildings were set on fire in several overnight strikes. Residential buildings were also targeted, just as they had been the night before. These new attacks come after Moscow warned NATO powers against any intervention on its soil. It's a verbal escalation, following alleged Russian drone incursions into several European airspaces.
In New York, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a speech to the United Nations General Assembly, sharply condemning Western nations that recognize Palestine and vowing to continue military operations against Hamas. His remarks provoked walkouts from numerous delegates and deepened Israel's diplomatic isolation on the world stage.
Benjamin Netanyahu's voice bellowing across the Gaza Strip. Speakers set up by the IDF, allowing the Israeli Prime Minister to broadcast live into the war-ravaged region. But inside the United Nations General Assembly in New York, dozens of diplomats were staging a walkout.
Please, order in the hall.
Delegates from around the world filing out of the auditorium in protest as Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a defiant 40-minute speech.
Giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7th is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11th. This is sheer madness. It's insane, and we won't do it.
The Israeli Prime Minister taking aim at world leaders, including Anthony Albanese, who have this week formally recognised a Palestinian state.
Your disgraceful decision will encourage terrorism against Jews and against innocent people everywhere. It will be a mark of shame on all of you.
On the streets of New York, free Palestine! Protests against the Israeli leader, who promised the war would rage on until the goal of destroying Hamas is achieved, while the US president declared a deal is almost done.
I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war. It's going to be a deal it's going to be peace.
The Israeli leader is now preparing for his 4th visit to the White House this year. He'll meet with Donald Trump next week.
Iran has condemned the reimposition of United Nations sanctions over its nuclear program, calling them unlawful and politically motivated. The sanctions reinstated by the UK, France and Germany include arms embargoes and asset freezes. Iran has recalled its ambassadors from these countries in protests.
Iran has strongly condemned the reimposition of United Nations sanctions over its nuclear program, calling them unlawful and saying they undermine diplomatic efforts. Foreign Ministry denounced the reinstatement of UN sanctions on Iran 10 years after they were lifted, labeling them unjustifiable, illegal, and a violation of international law. Iran claims the move is politically motivated and refuses to recognize the legitimacy of the snapback process. That process was initiated by the UK, France, and Germany, who cited lack of cooperation from Tehran. The snapback process automatically reimposes all UN sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program, including arms embargoes, halting uranium enrichment support, and asset freezes targeted at individuals and entities tied to Iran's nuclear and missile programs. In Europe, Denmark has imposed a week-long ban on civilian drone flights, following fresh drone sightings at military bases over the weekend, just as Copenhagen prepares to host a high-level EU summit. The Danish government announced that civilian drones will be banned nationwide from Monday to Friday during the week of the EU summit, citing security concerns after drones were observed over several military bases over the weekend and civilian airports last week. NATO also announced it would deploy an air defense frigate in the Baltic Sea in response to last week's drone incidents. The Danish Transportation Ministry stated that the temporary ban on all civilian drones flying in Danish airspace aims to remove the risk that enemy drones can be confused with legal drones. It warned that violations may result in fines or imprisonment for up to 2 years. Denmark will hold the rotating EU presidency, and the summit of leaders and officials is scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday.
Seychelles presidential election is heading to a runoff after no candidate secured a majority in the first round. Opposition leader Patrick Khamenei received 48.8% of the vote, while incumbent President Vavel Ramkalawan garnered 46.4%. The runoff is scheduled for October 9 to 11, 2025.
The Seychelles presidential election has entered a runoff phase, with no candidate achieving the required majority in the first round. Opposition leader Patrick Khamenei of United Seychelles leads with 48.8% of the vote, while incumbent President Vavel Ramkalawan of L'Union Democratique Seychelloise follows closely with 46.4%. A candidate needs over 50% to win outright, necessitating the second round vote scheduled for October 9th to the 11th, 2025. The runoff election pits Khamenei, a former Speaker of the National Assembly, against Ramkalawan, who is seeking a second term. Khamenei has criticized the current administration's handling of economic and social issues, while Ramkalawan emphasizes his achievements in economic recovery and infrastructure development. The election outcome is expected to significantly influence Seychelles' political direction and governance priorities. Voters are focused on several critical issues, including economic stability, drug addiction, and environmental protection. The country faces challenges such as growing drug crisis, particularly heroin addiction, and concerns over environmental sustainability. Both candidates have pledged to address these issues, with Khamenei advocating for reforms and Ramkalawan highlighting his administration's initiatives.
Moldova's pro-European Union ruling party, the Party of Action and Solidarity, has secured a decisive victory in the recent parliamentary elections, capturing 50.1% of the vote. The outcome bolsters President Maia Sandu's agenda for EU membership by 2030 and counters Russian influence in the region.
In Moldova's pivotal parliamentary election, the PAS achieved a commanding lead with 50.1% of the vote, surpassing the pro-Russian Patriotic Bloc, which garnered 24.2%. This result reflects a significant public endorsement for EU integration and a rejection of Moscow's influence. The PAS's success is seen as a strong mandate for President Maia Sandu's government to continue its push towards EU membership by 2030. The election was marred by claims of Russian interference, including disinformation campaigns, voter manipulation, and cyber attacks on electoral infrastructure. Despite these challenges, the PAS's victory underscores Moldova's commitment to a pro-European trajectory. Opponents, including former President Igor Dodon, disputed the results and called for protests, though no evidence was provided for claims of electoral fraud. The PAS's decisive win positions Moldova to advance its EU accession agenda, aiming for membership by 2030. This outcome aligns with broader regional trends favoring European integration and democratic reforms. The election results also signal a shift away from Russian influence, reflecting Moldova's desire for greater alignment with Western institutions.
Time for a short commercial break now. More world news coming right after this. And welcome back. A Pinecrest Elementary in Florida third grade teacher Mary Crippen is transforming her classroom with a football-themed curriculum called NF Elementary. Inspired by her mother's earlier version, Crippen weaves the NFL into math, reading, geography, writing, and life lessons to engage her students.
Class. Yes. At Pinecrest Elementary School in Florida,
the Falcons jump from 4th to 2nd.
Mary Crippen isn't just teaching third grade.
Yes! Clap it up for Sebastian.
She's coaching her students to success, bringing football off the field and into the classroom to make school easier to tackle.
Anything can happen!
Welcome to NF Elementary, inspired by the lesson plans created by a different teacher years ago, Mary's mom, Donna Martinez.
14
The goal? To get students' heads in the game. And now, Crippen is inspiring classrooms across the country. Not just math in her playbook.
What's the percent that has won their division? 51%.
But geography.
Where is the West? Left or right?
Left. And writing, with students sending letters to NFL teams they draft for the season.
Hey, Sebastian, this is Coach Vrabel with the New England Patriots, man.
Many teams responding. Some even sending gifts, like the Lions, the Rams.
Let's give Ollie his moment.
And the Steelers.
It means a lot that she trusts me to be able to take it and run with it and really just sprint with it.
Coaching the next generation well beyond the classroom.
That's been my favorite part, is the community that it creates, because they can all be with one another and they are all different in their own way, but they can connect over this game.
Researchers at Australia's University of Queensland are developing cyborg beetles, insects fitted with microchip backpacks that send electrical pulses into their antennae or wings to be remotely guided via video game controllers in order to help locate survivors amidst rubble in disaster zones.
Creepy crawly bugs might be a headache for some, but soon they could become heroes. Disaster victims trapped underneath the collapsed building could one day be rescued by these little guys. Researchers at the University of Queensland in Australia have been making huge strides to prepare them to be the rescuers of the future. They can already move left and right. They can even walk up and down walls. But PhD student Lachlan Fitzgerald is working on an upgrade. So how do they control them? With those tiny backpacks which connect to the beetle's nervous system, and then electronic signals are sent to their little antennas telling them which way to move. And it's all done using a video game controller, which they say makes a fun-sized first responders a suitable candidate for this kind of work.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Marsha Fernando, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of Region Sound's reopening, London Guitar Revival. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Prashansa Gunawardhana will be joining you next with the Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching and have a great night.